Hi folks, this is a front camera video comparison between the Galaxy A52, A72 and the Galaxy A32. A32 in this comparison is placed a bit away because the formation of my tripod doesn't allow placing the phones close to each other. So it is what it is now. This is a 1080p at 30 frames per second video, and it will give you an idea about the stability, an idea about the voice recording quality of the mic, the colors, and each and everything that you need to know. If you want to watch a 60 frames per second video comparison between the A72 and the A52, I have another video, a complete comparison between the A52 and the A72, and in that comparison I have included the 60 frames per second videos. Also, this video does not have the front 4K videos, so you will get those in that A72 versus A52 comparison as well, because this is a comparison between all the common modes only. So I am going to show you the videos and pictures in the modes that are available on the A32 as well. Now this one is one of the most difficult videos to record, so make sure that you guys hit the subscribe button and like this video if you find it good enough. Let's go ahead and dive deep into this camera comparison between these three phones. Let's get the camera hardware out of the way first. All these three phones come with a 64 megapixels main sensor, but it's not the same sensor on all the three phones. The A52 and the A72 both have the Samsung GW1 or the Sony IMX682 sensor. This is what the hardware device information applications show me. So I said in my previous videos that the A72 and the A52 might be using the GW3 sensor, but that's not valid anymore. As I said, these phones either have the GW1 or the Sony IMX682 sensor. And by the way, the GW1 is the same sensor that we saw in the Galaxy A71, and the IMX682 sensor is the same sensor that we saw in the Galaxy M51. But that doesn't mean that these phones have the same camera result as well, because the image processing and the image processing algorithm both are different this time. The A32 has the Samsung GW3 main sensor, A72 has a telephoto lens too, while the A52 and the A32 have a depth sensor instead. The other sensor details of these phones are all on your screen. Camera apps on the A52 and the A72 are 100% the same with all the same options, but the A32 lacks a few options. For example, the A32 cannot record videos higher than 1080p at 30 frames per second. It doesn't have optical image stabilization, it doesn't have the Snapchat fun mode, and the super slow-mo is missing too. Before I start, let me also tell you that a few days back, when I recorded the A52 versus the A72 comparison, I had the A32 all along too, and I shot the same images on this phone. So all the images and video clips you are about to see are more or less the same that you have seen in my previous videos. Here I have just added the A32 as well. Anyways, let's move towards the images now. Starting off with the rear camera samples. All these images are unedited. These were shot in the same modes on all the phones. Scene optimizer was turned on, HDR was set to auto, even the resolution is the same. What sets these photos apart is the image processing and the camera sensor. In this first image, check out how the A32 makes the colors look pale. Look at the orange color in all three images. It's best and close to reality on the Galaxy A52, and the A72 has deeper colors. The same image in the portrait mode, edge detection is the best on the A52 and the A72, and it's worse on the A32. And once again, the color tone difference is just too obvious. Here's my own image in the normal mode on all the phones, and once again, the colors are a bit deep on the A72. A52's colors are just too close to reality, and on the A32, look at the background first. The wall in the background on this phone looks too blue while it was turquoise in real. The same image in the ultra-wide mode. Samsung has deployed the best ultra-wide sensor on the Galaxy A72. A52's ultra-wide sensor does quite a good job too, and there's a greenish or yellowish tint on the image of the A32. It's quite pathetic for an ultra-wide camera on the A32. The image in the portrait mode. Now check out the edge detection once again. and check out the colors too. I am sure you are going to like the A72's image, but keep in mind the colors close to reality are in the A52's image, and the A32 works in a mysterious way to completely shift the colors. I will show you a few high-res, normal and ultra-wide images. The A52 and the A72 both are using the same sensor as I told you, and that can be seen here in all these images. The image processing algorithm on both the phones is what maintains the difference between that depth of colors. The A72 makes the colors pop, which looks pleasing at times. The A52's colors are definitely not that deep, they don't pop as much. On the other hand, the A32 completely changes some colors, which is not a good idea at all. It does this in all of its camera modes, and this camera can surprise at times too. There are situations when the camera of A52 and the A72 doesn't output a very good image, and the A32 has the capability to surprise you. I am not impressed with the result of the Galaxy A32's camera. Samsung is charging a lot of money for this phone, and we definitely deserved a camera better than this. On the other hand, the A52 and the A72 are doing quite a good job. Now in this particular image, look towards the top left corner. The dynamic range is the best on the A72. You can see those clouds. Dynamic range on the A52 is not as good as the A72, but you can still see the clouds, and on the A32 try finding the clouds. A32's dynamic range is not that good, and you can clearly see it in all of its images. It struggles to maintain a difference between the brighter and darker areas of the scene. The ultra-wide camera on all the phones does good, but the A32's ultra-wide camera doesn't look like it is Samsung's own camera solution. I just don't like it. It outputs poor details too. And at some instances, the A32 can completely wipe off the sky. If you are using the A32 only, you are not even going to find out this difference unless you match the colors captured by your camera and the colors in front of the frame. But right now, this is horrible. This is a red booth, and you can see that it looks orange on the Galaxy A32. It has its best look on the A52 because of its colors being close to reality, and it looks very eye-catching on the Galaxy A72. Take a look at some indoor images and let me know what do you guys think about these images. For these images, once again, keep in mind that the A52 is generating real colors. A72 has a color depth, and I don't have to tell you what the A32 is doing here. Samsung did not market the A32 as much. I am sure Samsung knows what they have done, and that's why the A32 is not being highlighted. Macro camera on all the phones performs in a similar manner. There isn't a huge difference, but the A32 lacks quality here as well. It is not adding that good amount of highlights in some situations. the night mode, these phones go neck and neck. The A72 and the A52 both have less noise in the image. A32's images are good but not that neat. Also, the A52 and the A72 both capture a good amount of light in the night. The A32's images are not properly lit. In the selfie department, both the A72 and A52 have a very high amount of details. Natural skin tone, very good edge detection, the saturation on the face is appropriate. On the A32, the face is saturated more than the A52 and the A72. Also, the details are not high on the A32. A32 selfies are rather soft. So yeah, the A32 does capture nice selfies, but if it comes down to which phone has a real look for the selfies, it has to be the A52 and the A72. Depth effect on all the phones is good, but the edge detection is much better on the other two high-end phones. Make sure you drop your own analysis and your feedback about all these selfies down in the comment section below. And by the way, I am also attaching a high-res 32 megapixel selfie shot on the A52 and the A72. The A32 has a 20 megapixels front camera sensor, so it's a 20 megapixel selfie from the Galaxy A32 right on your screen. And it's time for us to move on to the rear camera videos. Both the A72 and the A52 have optical image stabilization, and that works in the 1080p at 30 frames per second mode. The A32 doesn't have OIS, it might have the EIS, but the A52 and the A72 can record 1080p at 60 frames per second and 4K at 30 frames per second too, which I am not adding here because it's a comparison between the common modes. I have posted a full comparison between the A52 and the A72 on my channel, and it has the videos in all the modes. You can watch that, and with this we finally reach the conclusion. My point of doing this whole camera comparison is not to prove that the A32 is an inferior device. It is to clarify that the camera result of the A32 is not similar to the A52 or the A72's result. A32's camera sensor isn't that good, its image processing is quite poor. It has the MediaTek Helio G80 chipset, which is quite a poor chipset, and you can definitely imagine how it's going to process the images. Just in case you are thinking that 64 megapixels camera of the A32 will produce the same images as the 64 megapixels camera of the A52 or the A72, then I must tell you that you are mistaken. If you want better camera result, you will have to spend a little more to get the A52 because that's priced close to the A32. Let me know what do you guys think about this video and which phone's camera is your favorite. Hit the like button if you haven't yet and subscribe too. With that being said, I will sign off and see you all in the next one.